Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of the PETHS Alumni Network podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today we are joined by none other than Miss Jasmyn Butt. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on here. So we have a real social media influencer on the podcast this week. To give a bit of context, you graduated in 2019. You then went on to Guelph-Humber and you studied media studies and communications.
Yes.
Yes. So, we'll work backwards before we get to the most exciting part, what you're doing right now. So in high school, offline, we talked a little bit, you wanted to go into the medical field, but then plans ended up changing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So my whole childhood, especially being born and raised into a Brown family, the usual mindset is lawyer, doctor, engineer. So my uncle was actually a doctor. My aunt is a dentist. My other uncle is a pharmacist. So it's a lot of people in the medical field and medical industry. So growing up, I've only had that one mindset of doctor, doctor, doctor. And my whole life I'm like, okay, that's what I'm gonna go into. That's it. I'm set. Going into high school, I realized maybe it's not the best for me. Not that I wasn't good at it, but sciences and math just wasn't my forte. I didn't really enjoy it. Was really drawn to there was a media course in PET, and I was really drawn to that. I took it for 2, 3 years, really enjoyed it. And I also ended up having a few issues in high school where I needed a lot of guidance. So um, I would see my guidance counselor, Miss Diep, a lot. And just hearing her, getting to know her, seeing how her job works, and just getting to really connect with her, I thought maybe psychology would be a good kind of backup too. And then I looked into that, thought maybe that was my next step. And then I started going to all these university events and got to see that there's more out there actually rather than just doctor, lawyer,
Mhm.
and engineer, which was crazy because my whole life was just that. Um, and my sister is 2 years older than me. So I started going 2 years before I even graduated to these events. And each year I came back with more and more questions.
Mhm.
I got more and more answers, and it kind of guided me to where I ended up going. Um, Having that love I said before for the media side,
Mhm.
I ended up choosing a program more media related and don't regret it whatsoever.
Mhm. Perfect. Yeah. What were some of the biggest learning points you had in high school that you took with you to post-secondary?
So, one major thing that's just pet in general is I don't know if you're aware or if you had the same same learning experiences, but pet was really it was a great school overall. Everyone was very well rounded in sports and the education portion, but it was also a really strict school. So marking wise, tests, everything was very, very strict. Um, and at first, I was ready to actually switch schools at one point because it was so stressful for
Mhm.
me. But going into university, it was very weird because PET in a way prepared me for university to the point where I would never stress. I was flying through university like it was nothing, getting the good grades, graduating with honors, everything.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, my peers were struggling, stressing, crying. So I think
Mhm.
that's one big thing that PET prepared me for, which looking back at it now, I really, really appreciate because I know back then I was like ready to bawl my eyes every day.
Mhm. You mentioned, your media class. Do you have any other classes or teachers that you'd like to shout out as, super memorable for you?
Okay, so there are three people that I will always remember. One being, as I mentioned, Miss Dia.
Mhm.
Great, great, great guidance counselor. She actually took time to get to know me, to get to help me and guide me. So Miss Dia, love her. Another is actually my history teacher, Madame Sini. I didn't think I liked history at first, but she made that class so memorable and so fun. So big, big shout out to her. And last but not least, Mr. Scapinello. Scaps was like the best teacher. To this day, I swear, every time I see my friends, every time I talk about high school, I always bring up his name. Always. So big, big shout out to him.
If you could describe him in a few words, what would those words be?
God, how do I describe Scaps? Um, Different, unique, down to earth.
Mhm,
Um, and honestly, he was more of a friend than a teacher.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually at this point, I say like, is like what classes or teachers stood out to you? I'd say 3 out of 4 times people would say Mr. Scaps.
Yeah. It's
His leadership classes.
yes, his leadership. I also had him for French.
Oh,
So
okay. You're in French immersion.
yes, I was a French immersion student.
Okay. Okay. Were you in any other clubs?
I was part, so clubs wise, I was on the prom committee and athletic council. I was also part of the MSA, the Muslim Student Association, um, all of which super, super fun. Um, I think that was about it at the time. Like there wasn't really many clubs.
Mhm. So you planned the last prom for like years, because I didn't have a
Yeah,
prom
yeah,
after
I
2019 was
did.
the last one.
I did.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
had one last year maybe, but that was it.
I guess the restrictions and everything lifted. Yeah, no, that
Mhm.
was a really memorable night. I will tell you that.
Mhm. I think people were telling me the Raptors won that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that night, I remember. So I helped plan it, and I actually made our tickets and everything for the prom as well. Super cool. I still have it framed with
Mhm.
me. That day, I remember I had no time to get ready for myself. I had friends coming every hour so I could do their hair and makeup.
Mhm.
We ended up actually also being on the radio that day. That was pretty cool. And then the prom night itself, there was like little to no dancing because the entire night was just watching the Raptors win.
Mhm.
It was so cool.
Mhm. Did it make it like more enjoyable for you knowing like, the planning process and seeing your hard work pay off?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because
Mhm.
at first we weren't too sure what we wanted, how it was gonna go, any of that. We also didn't plan to have it the same night of the Raptors game,
Mhm.
but I think that kind of added to the memorabilia and having a story to tell in the future.
Mhm.
Like to this day, I still remember that story.
Mhm.
So overall, just seeing our hard work pay off, even though there was no dancing, was still like
Mhm.
so surreal because you plan that. It's a big event
Mhm.
everyone's gonna remember for the rest of their life. So yeah,
Mhm.
super memorable.
What were some of like the hardest parts about planning, such a huge event?
Okay. So there's different steps to the planning process. There's planning the date, booking where you want to have the prom,
Mhm.
finding out what theme you want. Oh my God, the theme process was probably the worst process. Okay. Um, because we put it out to the school to give us ideas. And then from there, we took the most creative ones and the ones that we thought we could pull off. And then we did a vote, and people were not happy. So it's like you can't please everyone, though, right? Um, so that was the hardest process. But after that, it was creating the tickets to go with our theme, selling the tickets, and then people last minute wanting tickets, even though we stopped the sales. Like, yeah, it was a process.
Mhm. And then adding on to it, I don't know if I'll keep this in the podcast, but there was an incident the year before at prom. Did that add any, complexity to this process?
Not really. No, I think
Mhm.
at that point they just forgot about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, because it's different group, different people, different committee planning it. It was not really the same. So not really. It didn't actually affect
Mhm.
it. No.
Okay, that's good to hear. So, we talked about, all the great, experiences and skills you learned in high school. And then you told me off camera that, you still were kind of unsure and kind of juggling, different areas that you want to explore.
hmm
Kind of like walk us through like your whole like application journey.
So, as I mentioned, three different things that I wanted to do or had an interest in. Teaching, huge interest, psychology, and then the media side. Originally, like as I mentioned, I started going to the university fairs in grade 10. Um, and that's when I kind of got like the inside of, oh, there's more out there. And thankfully, I have very modern brown parents. So they were very open and supportive. They're like, whatever you want to do, we will support you. Um, so they actually also encouraged me to try different things. Um, I applied for all three because even in grade 12, 2 years after, I still was struggling to figure out which one I wanted. And then from there, I waited for the acceptances and I realized I got into all three, which also didn't help.
Mhm.
But then I remember each university then had their open houses, and I'm like, I want to try to figure this out sooner than later. So I went to the open houses and I got to actually take a look at the classes that they offer, take a look at what they're teaching in those courses. And that kind of also helped me and guided me to figure out what was best for me. One school that I remember very well was actually Trent, which is not like wasn't even one of my top choices. But I remember getting a letter in the mail from the dean because my marks were above and they invited me to this um, dinner with the dean, which was pretty cool. And I got to like actually meet the dean and get to know more about the school, the courses. And I think at that point, I kind of was more towards the teaching and the media,
Mhm.
even though I was more on media. Teaching was going to be my actual like go-to um until COVID, I would say, is when I actually really loved what I did. So I'll speak of that later, but I remember I went there and then I had a lot of ups and downs in high school, and as I mentioned off camera, I wanted to pick somewhere that not really anyone I knew would go to. So I heard of Guelph-Humber at the university fair and I went to their open house to check it out. I got into their teaching as well. And well, it's called early childhood there, but I also got into their media studies program. And I never heard of at the time like a university with a college, so a dual credit. And I got to take a look. I got to go to the school visit, meet some teachers, see the courses, the program itself, and we did a tour of the campus, and that's what sold me. So the
Mhm.
campus was small, like very, very small. Um, the class sizes were very small as well. But one thing about me is I learn way better in a smaller class where I get to know the teacher and get to know the people I'm with. Whereas every other class was literally a giant hall. So that's one thing that really, really pushed me to go to this school. Um, and then I got to see the classes, and it was very hands-on. Whereas every other class, every other school was the history, the theories, the like nothing that really caught my attention. And I'm a very hands-on learner. Okay. So I
Mhm.
think that's really what sold me to go to Guelph-Humber. And then, as I mentioned, media. I really have always been into editing, really have always been into videography, photography, all of that. And then TikTok came to play in grade
Mhm.
12. And I think that just pushed me even more to the media side.
Mhm.
So from med, I ended up in media.
Okay. Yeah, super interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of I talk to a lot of, younger kids and they have, this preconceived notion about what they want to do for the rest of their life. Their career may be like 50 years and they're like 14 making these decisions, it's really interesting. So you went to Gulf Humber and at the end of your first year, COVID hits. Kind of like walk us through like what was going through your mind at that point. How did you adjust?
So, funny story is I remember when COVID first became like a thing, people were monitoring how many cases there were in their area or when it finally came to Canada. Um, my friends and I, we were actually, I believe, like the last school to close for COVID. I remember it was the second last month of my first year. So I will say I got lucky. I got to still experience the full first
Mhm.
year. Um, so first year, that last month ended up being COVID. And I remember we're all looking at our phones waiting for them to announce that we are closing because everyone was already at home.
Mhm.
And we're like, come on, come on. And then we finally were in one of our classes and got that email, and everyone got up and we just left. We didn't even stay for the class, we just left. It was so funny. But at same time, I think we were just so excited to go home. But then COVID hit and I missed school so much. As I mentioned, my school, I didn't know anyone. So I got to start fresh. But the group of friends that I made, the connections I made with my professors and everything, it was so unique that I honestly never thought that you could be that close with people. So I really missed that, and I really missed learning in person because then when everything became virtual, it was the beginning, right? So it was trial and error, and then there were no classes for a while, and then it was boredom killing you, and so it really changed the way you had to adapt and learn. But then when everything like the restrictions and everything got lifted, they were starting to slowly implement the in-person classes again, or you had the choice of in-person or virtual. Right away, I went in person. I'm like, I can't do virtual no more. So don't regret that at all. COVID was still a great experience. It taught me a lot, but at the same time, it took away 2 years of my university life, which I would so want back. Yeah, I loved my university. It was great.
So you touched on, learning a lot through this, difficult time. What were some of like the specific things you learned, in university as, someone who's experienced more than you did in high school?
So one thing that I regret so much from high school is I was portraying like this is so cheesy. I was not being myself. Okay, I always wanted to fit in and I always wanted to be liked by everyone. That my real personality, if you really get to know me, I'm a very bubbly, chatty, outgoing person. But I'm so fun. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm so fun. Um, I just wasn't that person. But because university, I got to start fresh. I didn't put on that fake personality, and oh my goodness, it was the best thing I've ever done. Um, the group of friends I made were literally like they matched my energy, and we're to this day we're so freaking close. My professors as well, they got to know me, they got to like me. We actually became really close friends or peers after university. One thing I also did in university that I didn't do in high school was high school. I was always scared that I had that mindset of what will people think of me, right? So I would never ask questions ever. And university was just back to back questions. And I needed that so much, which I didn't do in high school, which I regret so much too. So I was asking the questions, I built the strong relationships. I also, in high school, I was scared to fail. University, though, I kind of embraced my failures and learned from that, and it kind of pushed me even more. I also took a lot of challenges in university, which I never did in high school. And I got to explore my interests as well with university, which also in high school was always that mentality of what will people think, right? So university was just way different. I wish I did all those things in high school because I feel like if I did those, if I wasn't afraid, it would be like I would probably be somewhere else right now. I would be somewhere else. I would know more. I would have just been happier overall. Yeah.
No, that's great advice. I always ask for advice, but you gave it to us already. You mentioned, putting yourself out there and taking these risks. And you mentioned, you saw TikTok in grade 12 and you turned towards more marketing. How did this whole like online presence, I know you don't like it when I say influencer, but how did that whole thing come to be over the pandemic?
So, as you mentioned, TikTok I downloaded in high school as a joke. It was a literal joke, and I downloaded it at a time when it was embarrassing to even say you had TikTok on your phone. But eventually, I started making little videos here and there just for the fun of it. Not really tagging anyone because I didn't want anyone to know. Not really like trying to put it out there because I didn't want anyone to know. But then, as I went into the media side, I started doing it a little more, not like I didn't try to like take it seriously, but I wanted to do more with it. And then COVID hit and we had all the time in the world. Okay. So I started doing a lot of makeup videos because I grew a big love for makeup. I started doing makeup videos and just random like trends that were trending at the time, and one of them happened to just blow up. So that one that blew up started my whole following, and from there I kind of realized I can do more with social media, especially during COVID, which then I did. So I started posting more consistently. I started every time I would go out, every time I had plans, every time I had anything where I needed to get ready, I would just pull out my phone, start recording. Those started getting a lot of attention. And I realized that maybe this is something I can continue to do and maybe it'll go somewhere. I never actually thought or considered to ever become an influencer. Um, Even coming out of my mouth, that's weird. And then one day, just randomly, I got a message from on Instagram from this Canadian makeup company that is launched or that was launching in Sephora. And being a small creator, I would take anything I could get. So right away, I'm like, yes, I'll take this. I'll take it. It was free. I didn't care. It was free. I took it. I wasn't getting paid. I did a video on it. They took that video, posted it on their accounts, posted it on their stories, and it kind of put me out there more. And then I started getting more views. And then from there, it just kept growing. And I actually got my first paid collaboration with this big brand called Estee Lauder. And I got to be promoted by them, and to this day they still use that video to make to kind of sponsor and post and use as an ad, and then it just started growing even more and more, and now I am way beyond lucky to say that to this day I just randomly get packages at the front door from brands that never in my entire life would I've ever thought that I'd be ever able to work with or receive anything from. Like Rihanna's company sends me stuff. I didn't even know that they knew that I existed. This huge brand called Charlotte Tilbury, they know I exist. It is just, it's so surreal because even though I've been getting these for a while now, every time I get a new package, I feel like a little kid again because not once could I've ever imagined getting any of this, and it's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm curious, what does the whole like process look like? So like they reach out to you and then like is there like a contract term? Like how does that negotiation work?
So there's different things. There's either just gifting or they want to work with you. The ones where it's just gifting, they will email me. So one thing during COVID is I created a separate email and was like, what if I just put it in my bio? Let's see what happens. And then I just started getting email after email. So when it's gifting opportunities, they'll just email me, be like, hey, we have a new launch coming out. We want you to be one of the first to receive it. Would you be interested? I'll be like, of course I am. They would say, okay, just provide us like your information, fill out this form, and we'll be all good. Then I get the products. They're not expecting a video, not expecting me to post it, but I still do, right? So those are the free ones. The ones that actually pay me, they have this whole contract that I have to sign. I have to have drafts of the videos sent to them first for their approval. It has to have certain keywords. It has to have certain like clips in it. Very cool, very lengthy process. There's meetings that go into it as well. So each time we have to post a video or each time we reach a deadline, we have a meeting. Is everyone ready? Make sure you include this. We're going to post it this day. Have this hashtag, have this caption, tag this brand. And then once it's been approved and you can post it, then you get paid for it. I'm not going to disclose how much, but you get paid for once the video is up and approved. And then some brands will make you do a second video, same kind of process, then it'll get approved. But usually that's what it is. So the original, like the first email is you have to sign a contract, and then from there, it's that whole process.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear from someone who like doesn't have a background in that. What's kind of like the like motto of your channel? Like what's kind of like the vibe that you like to give off in your channel?
So my channel, I honestly, everyone has their little niche. I don't. I just do what I'm doing during my day. So my channel is just me. It's just me being me. Whether it's I'm vlogging my day, whether it's I'm sitting down and getting ready for an outing, an event, or I need help picking an outfit. It's literally just who I am. That's my channel. There's nothing
Okay.
fake about it. Nothing
Okay.
like specific. It's just me. Yeah.
I'm sure lots of fun, good vibes, informative, those are all great things. I'll put your channel in the description, by the way. Here. Yeah, so what are some of the things that you want to accomplish? It can be related to, the social media work, and be related to just about anything. What are some things that you want to accomplish maybe like 10, 20 years from now?
So social media wise, I hope to continue growing one day, maybe get verified, who knows. I don't see that ever becoming like a full-time thing. I see a lot of these influencers who quit their full-time job because their Instagram, their TikTok just takes off. I don't want that. I actually really still want to stick to marketing. One day I'm actually thinking of maybe moving to the US because there's many opportunities there. I actually had an interview for a marketing firm in Miami, which I got, which was pretty cool, but I couldn't accept because they needed me there that week. But it's cool knowing that I can do it. So I think maybe moving to the US, finding a better opportunity there, maybe even working for one of these big brands like TikTok itself would be so cool. Or even one of these makeup brands that I work with, just on their marketing team, their social media team. I think that's something that I would really enjoy doing for the rest of my life too.
We'll move on to some quick rapid fire questions I usually ask at the end. What's your favorite song right now?
Ooh, favorite song right now. I actually don't think I have a favorite. But if I had like a favorite era, it'd all be like early 2000s to 2015. Like that's anything after that.
Like Nelly Furtado, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, Usher. He just performed.
Avril Lavigne. Yeah.
Avril Lavigne, Usher, Pitbull. Oh my goodness, Pitbull.
Oh, Pitbull. Yeah.
Pitbull and I for a birthday. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram or my highlights. I went to the Pitbull concert, dressed up as Pitbull in a bald cap and everything. Night of my life. So Pitbull.
That's my favorite era too. I always say that this like new like rap generation, I'm not really feeling it. I feel like even early 2000s rap was better.
Yeah. Now it's all the same too. All these rappers are the same. They're rapping about the same thing. They have the same voice, same style. It's nothing unique.
Exactly. Yeah. What's your favorite food?
I'm big, so it's not just a specific food. It's just fruit.
Okay.
Fruit. Always has been, always will be fruit.
Just by itself or like something on it?
By itself, with something covered in chocolate, however, fruit.
Okay. Here's my weird fruit take. So I take a grapefruit, you cut it, and you put sugar on it.
Yes. Everyone thinks I'm weird with that.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a real thing or not. I thought that was a hot take.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's a thing I grew up on, so it's like nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had $1 million and you want to spend on something, what would it be?
So $1 million can't really get you much anymore. I don't know if you noticed in this economy, but I actually would invest that. I don't think I'd buy something. I would invest it.
What's your irresponsible answer?
Irresponsible, I think. I think I would actually invest that money in property.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still pretty responsible.
I don't think I have an irresponsible answer for that because my whole life, even when I was like young, I'm like, I'm gonna get the properties. So
okay, like you want to ball out like on a vacation, like you don't have a favorite vacation spot?
No, not worth $1 million.
No. Where would you travel if money was no object?
Oh, I would travel to. There's 2 places I really want, or 3 places I really want to go to. One being Turkey, one being Pakistan, which actually I've never been to, and Dubai. Those would be the 3. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite TV show? Growing up, I was huge on Kim Possible. So to this day, I still rewatch it. Kim Possible. Favorite movie? I really, I just watched, believe it or not, I am now 23. I just watched The Hangover, all 3 of them. So I think that's my current favorite.
That's a great movie. If we came back to you like 10 years from now and we say Jasmyn is, and then there's a blank, what would that word be? Like, what do you want to be known for?
I would say, shoot, one word. Unique.
Okay.
Unique.
Would you care to elaborate?
So in the sense that, like, if you were to look at me, you wouldn't think of this, but I have many interests that a lot of people find weird. My sisters call me a COVID grandma. Yeah, like, I'm very into sports, the gym, sewing, crocheting, baking, painting, makeup, social media. Like, there's so much that at first glance you would never know. So unique.
Okay, great to hear. You know, we love unique voices. You know, we don't want everyone to be exactly the same. That would be really boring. All right, wrapping up now. Final question for you: if you could nominate, you know, a few other pet grads to be on the podcast, who would it be?
Okay, I would want. Who's interesting? Isabel Tam. I haven't spoke to her in so long. I would do Isabel. And I would also do Joshua Marasegan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
so fun. Yes. Those two. Yes.
Okay, perfect. We'll get them on the podcast. We'll see what they
Me
say.
too.
Yeah. Do you have any closing remarks for us before we go? Any wise piece of advice for our viewers?
I mean, I basically gave the advice, but from experience, I'll just reiterate. Building the strong relationships from high school, super important. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if it's a stupid question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Embrace the failure, take challenges, and also explore your options and your interests. Don't just stick to one thing, because trust me, if you think you know what you want to do now, you really don't.
Perfectly well said. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your great insights. You know, we wish you all the best with your
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you
endeavors
for
and things, of course. Yeah, so thank you everyone so much for watching too. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Thank you. Bye.